Welcome to Draw Tip Tuesday. Here's your weekly dose of inspiration to build a creative habit, one drawing at a time. Brought to you by Sketchbook Skool.
Hi, welcome to Draw Tip Tuesday. A bit different again than usually because I wanted to show you a few approaches on how to photograph your art, your sketchbook, for social media. Maybe you have a scanner, well that's great, but it might be a little bit much if you just want to do a quick post of your work. Then a camera could be handier. But if you don't have a camera and you just have your phone at hand, your smartphone, there's a lot you can do, and your photos of your art can be pretty good, especially for sharing quickly on social media or anywhere else. So I'll show you a few tricks that I really like doing and tell you a little bit about it. What is really important when you are photographing your art is your lighting, and the best lighting actually is daylight. I am right now just in front of the window. I put my sketchbook on the windowsill, and as you can see there's a really nice sort of a equal lighting coming in. Of course, if the sun is shining, that's quite different. The shadows could be really hard. Overall, it's best to just find a place where you can get a lot of daylight, and then you are actually kind of good to go to take your picture. So let's do that. If you are framing your photo, make sure that your phone is at the same angle or parallel actually to your sketchbook. Because as you can see from here, my phone is a little bit like this, but the sketchbook is like this, and you can see the distortion here happening. There's a lot of perspective in there. So you want to be right from the top. What you can do is go very close, but two things can happen there. You can get quite some distortion. As you can see, the wide angle can distort it a little bit, and also you might be in the light. So the best thing to do is back up just a little bit, and then you can zoom in a little. Now my phone tends to make the photos a little bit too dark to my taste, so what you can do is just tap the image, and then there's a little sun icon, and you can change the exposure. And then you just take the picture, and there you go. Now holding it still, framing it well, and then not be shaky while you take the picture can be a little bit tricky. So what I often do is I select the 3-second option that you can usually use for a selfie, for example, and then it will take a picture 3 seconds after you actually hit the button. So that gives you a little bit of time to make sure everything is in frame, and maybe even hold your breath. The light that I have now is pretty ideal, but sometimes you will see that there is a little bit a difference of gradation. So because the light comes from here, then this part will be lighter than this part, and there's a little trick for that. You can use just a simple sketchbook to bounce off the light, and you can already see the difference in the cast shadow here. If I put that over here, if I place it over here, then here the light comes from here and it bounces off of both pages, and it fills in the shadows. See the difference? That can be really helpful. Okay, here's another problem that you could run into. With this sketchbook, for example, it won't lie flat. So what you can do is use a little clamp like that, put it in a corner, and then you have a nice flat surface. And then you can take your photo. But maybe you don't like this being in your picture. So there's another way, and that is using a frame, just a simple, the glass frame of a picture frame. Now this flattens out your sketchbook very well, but there's a little bit of a tricky bit about it. As you can see, there is a reflection, but you should be able to get away with it, especially if the room around you isn't too light. then you won't be seen in the reflection of actually the mirror that this glass frame is. And that works. What if you're in the sunlight, in a bright sunlight, or you have one big light source that's coming from one side? Well, as you can see, the light source is from up there and it casts a big shadow. Now I can do my trick again with the glass to flatten this out so I can really get my picture well in frame. Move it a little bit so I have a little bit more space to show you. Again, we can fill up those shadows a little bit with our bouncing light. Can you see the difference just a little bit? One thing that I almost forgot to tell you that you might even not notice is that when you have a strong light source from one side and you start taking a picture, you might actually cast a shadow. So make sure that you are not between the light source and your subject, because casting a shadow will also just mess up your picture. So make sure that you are on the right side and that you can take a picture that way without casting an extra shadow that you really don't need. And then when you find your photo in your photo app on the phone, then there's this little tool that can help you actually crop it before you share it online. Here's the crop tool, and you can just pull the banners and even turn it a little bit if you didn't take it straight. And you just crop it. And then you are done, and it looks like you have scanned the picture, and now you can share it online. So there you go. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope that you will be sharing your art online. And you can even hashtag it Draw Tip Tuesday, or maybe at Sketchbook Skool, so we can see what you are doing. And if you want to learn more about illustration, about creating projects outside of your sketchbook, and keeping track of your progress and your process, then join Illustration Nation. It's a fantastic course. It's brand spanking new on Sketchbook Skool. So check it out and go to sketchbookskool.com. See you next week.